Okay, hey, good morning, friends. How is everybody today? I hope everybody's well, enjoying their Mittwoch, Wednesday, as I am. Let me show you this Porsche 928, the 79 model. All the rust is gone. Spent several hours sanding it all down, gone through a couple of boxes of sandpaper very quickly to get this stuff down, get it off. But thank goodness that the Germans utilized a lot of zinc in these cars' bodies, the 928 body and the steel sections. So the rust, if we go and leave the car out in the environment like this car was, bare metal, the rust is nominal. Okay, here it is right here. You're going to have to draw back in reference to my other videos to just see the difference between right now and earlier or last week sometime. Also to note and see, I got the fenders off. This fender right here was a replacement fender, and this is the one that had a dent damage in this portion right here. So I've started to take the dent out of this fender and still have some more work to do on it. I have to shrink that portion. What's going to happen right now is this section of the quarter panel that is taped off, I'm going to apply a light coat of a very heavy enhanced zinc primer on here, let it dry, and then I'm going to slowly sand it down or scuff it up, take off some of it to just see how much penetrates into the metal, to try to recondition and treat this metal in a manner consistent or close to being consistent with what the factory did. So that rich zinc primer, I'm going to run an experiment right here and just to determine the course of action for the rest of this car body. What I am thinking about doing, and probably will do, but I want to apply some judgment to the process of just putting on some epoxy primer. I want to be able to make sure that I'm injecting into the metal prior to the epoxy primer some zinc rich qualities to try to replicate in the metal what has been lost from the actions that were done previously of sanding down all the paint and leaving it out in the rain. So if this was freshly media blasted with plastic, I would have, most of the zinc would have remained in the metal, but some of it would have been gone. So I don't know, I might have just had to probably just shoot it with the epoxy primer and just call it a day. But this one had so much rust on it, that's why I'm being very cautious about the course of action and not just jumping in and assuming this or assuming that. I want to make sure that we don't have any issues coming up later in the paint job when it's done. As I said earlier, some of these small black pores, these small black dots, that is or was active rust that has now been canceled or changed into an iron phosphate, or I think it's called iron phosphate. through the chemical reaction of this OSPO stuff. So I'll come back later on with a video and show this section with the zinc rich primer applied, and also with the sanding down process or rubbing it in process when it's dry, perhaps maybe a second coat. But I don't want it to be too thick. I want it to be very light. I still want to have some metal on it, meaning the metal coming through, so I can lay the epoxy on top of that. Epoxy doesn't stick on things well other than bare metal, but I think some of this green primer I have, the zinc rich primer, because it is by default a very translucent primer, I think I'll be okay with that. Especially because this car has not been blasted and I've decided to not blast it. So these areas like here and areas like this will still need to be addressed prior to me putting any primer in and on those areas. So there it is, folks. Choose. Hey friends, this is the 79 Porsche 928 front left fender. This is the one that had a pretty significant dent from a collision or from a scraping action that went in the direction of this chalk marker, and it scarred it up quite a bit. And what I'm going to be doing right now is I just marked the area with a big thick Sharpie. I'm going to just try to find high areas and low areas, which I know where they are, but I want to do this to illustrate on the video. Because it's an aluminum fender, I'm going to go put this chalk on the file, so the file doesn't fill up really quickly with aluminum pieces. And I'm not going to hit it very hard. I'm just going to go very easily on it. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and use this slapping hammer that I made. And I'm doing off hammer or off dolly just a little bit. Occasionally you'll hear it hit with the dinging noise. Not at lows, yes. Still relatively high there. I'm going to be very careful in using this propane torch. Simply because propane is not the best thing to use on this. get that hot. The fender with my legs pretty tightly against this table, and I'm pushing them up with the dolly pretty good. So let me run over it real quick with some 80 grit. Yeah. Took it down a little bit, it smoothed it out somewhat, but taking out the scar, the scratch in the aluminum, that's doing a pretty good job on that. Bringing that back normal. So, I'm by no means a pro at this. I did do this kind of work, and I had to be proficient in it in the 44 Bravo welding school that I undertook years ago in the military. So these are old skills that it's kind of like riding the bike. You know it and you remember it, and you get on it again. You might wobble a bit, or skiing again after many years. You might fall down, sliding on the ice and your feet. You might have a little bit of unevenness on your footing and balance on the ice. So by all means, I am that guy. So. But I'll get this fender worked out, and it's already coming out. Aluminum is very easy to work with. It's very soft, as many of you people know. So we'll get this down right, and I don't want to take up too much more minutes on the video. Okay, cheers. Bye bye. Let me bring it up close and show you. See, here's the scar right there by my fingers. So, adios, cheers.
stress, anxiety, desire, all the stuff. The way we live life now is increasing our lifespan. Now, I know everybody has had a lifetime of hearing, but science has improved our lifespan. I'm not talking about physical life. I'm talking about spiritual. How long is our spiritual?
Pretty good at. I used my 928 as a template to see where I'm going on this.
We live and die according to our use of the three brains and the energy. As we've explained in many lectures previously,
It's very close to mine.
has been evolving
So,
many bodies, life and death.
which is a-okay. It's perfect. That's the way it's supposed to be. A little bit of body filler on that, and not very much. Just a very little bit. It'll be good to go. Juice.
Many causes that have been put in motion, and many
Oh, yeah.
effects that are being played out,
Here's the green
all of which are energetic.
stuff.
Thus, when we're born
The
into this
zinc
life,
rich primer.
not only do we carry that karmic stream, that is our mind.